In the past few years, more and more rumours have emerged about South Africa's potential to return to the Formula One calendar. They've been absent from it for 29 years, and subsequently so has the continent of Africa, which seems ridiculous given that Africa is the second largest continent in the world. These rumours have escalated especially in the past few months, as potential is emerging for South Africa to take the place of France on the 2023 calendar. Whilst it's not all a given that this will happen, there's a lot to say it will. So the question we're asking is, are we going to see a 2023 South African Grand Prix? Hasn't been one in recent years, South Africa is no stranger to hosting a Grand Prix. It was on the Grand Prix calendar in 1934 and again from 1936 to 1939, and then first appeared on the Formula One calendar in 1960. It was then held every year from 1960 until 1985 with the exception of 1964, and then returned again in 1992 and 1993. The Grand Prix has been hosted by two circuits in its history, with the Prince George Circuit in East London hosting it until 1966, and since then it's been hosted by the Kyalami Grand Prix Circuit, just north of Johannesburg, which is the circuit looking to host it in 2023. The Prince George Circuit is not on the cards since it hasn't been touched in nearly 60 years, which might make it just a tad difficult to race on, and it was also deemed too small for cars a fraction of the size of current F1 cars. But given F1's recent history with new tracks, this sounds like a great fit. If Kyalami does not succeed in bringing the Grand Prix there is also a possibility of a street circuit in Cape Town, which has been proposed, and according to Motorsport South Africa chairman Anton Roose, Cape Town is very much on the cards as well as Kyalami. However, if the South African Grand Prix were to happen next year, it would almost certainly be Kyalami. It's likely that most of you are unfamiliar with the Kyalami circuit, so let me talk you through it. The Kyalami Grand Prix circuit is a 4.529km racetrack outside of Johannesburg, with 16 turns. The circuit has changed a lot since its opening in 1961, with it generally becoming more sophisticated over the years. Its original 9-corner layout was used from 1961 to 1988, before the track was almost completely rebuilt prior to the Grand Prix return in 1992. The current 16-corner layout has been in use since 2015, and currently the only major event hosted is the Kyalami 9 Hours, an intercontinental GT Challenge endurance race. It was planned to host a 6-hour WEC race in the 2020-21 season, however, plans fell through due to the pandemic. Given that it's quite important as to whether this would actually be a good track for F1, let me take you through a lap of the current layout. Turn 1 is called the Kink, and is very similar to Turn 1 at Sochi. A comparison to Sochi before the second corner is not promising, I know, but give it a chance. A flat-out sweeping right-hander before continuing on the straight. Turn 2 is called Crowthorne, a medium-speed left-hander which widens on exit to set you up for Turn 3 and 4, known as the Jux K sweep. A flat-out right-hander, quickly followed by a flat-out left-hander, which throws the driver into the braking zone for Turn 5, Barbecue. This is another medium to low-speed left-hander that brings you onto part of the original circuit. Turn 6 is called Sunset, a fast-sweeping right-hander similar to Turn 3 at Barcelona, followed by Clubhouse, a slow left-hander. There's then a short straight followed by Turns 8 and 9, known as the S's, a quick left-hander and then a quick flick into a fast right-hander. You then join a straight that kinks right and left before braking into Leeuwkop, a blind long left-hander. This brings you onto the back straight, for a flat-out left-hander known as Mineshaft, followed by heavy braking into the Crocodiles, a challenging off-camber right turn. There's then acceleration up a hill into a quick right-hander called Cheetah, before the final corner Ingwe, a slow 90-degree left-hander which brings the driver back onto the start-finish straight. It's a very good track in my opinion, with a combination of fast corners and slow corners, and loads of undulation. It does seem quite narrow to me, but I also thought that about the Jeddah Corniche circuit, which is ridiculously narrow, but it still works for a Grand Prix. It seems like quite a high G circuit in an F1 car like Mugello, but I think it would be a great track for Formula One. So finally, why might this track become a Grand Prix next year? Well, it's been rumoured for multiple years, and a few months ago, President of F1 Stefano Domenicali flew to South Africa to meet Kyalami representatives about a possible 2023 return to the calendar. It was then confirmed that Kyalami had been added to the provisional 2023 F1 calendar, which is a popular decision for both F1 and South Africa, since it would be great for South Africa's tourism industry, and it would be great for F1 to get a race in all 6 continents. Obviously there are 7 continents, but an Antarctic Grand Prix seems just a tad unlikely. However, there is something which could could stop a Grand Prix in South Africa next year, which is that it is currently an FIA Grade 2 circuit, and it would need to be converted to Grade 1 in order to be given rights to host a Grand Prix. This is a big development that will require a lot of funding, and there will also be a deadline for these developments to be completed if there's going to be a Grand Prix next year. I saw rumours from reliable sources saying that the deadline was July 31st this year, but at the end of the day, these are rumours, like a creative rumour saying that Mike Conway is going to Alpine next year. Believe what you want. And of course, if South Africa fails to get a Grand Prix next year, there are future years, and I definitely see this Grand Prix returning in the next few years. Let me know in the comments what you think about the potential return of the South African Grand Prix. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. But with that, I'm Daniel. Have a nice day.